Hello everyone. Today's topic is non-rigid rotor. I am taking this spectroscopy topic after a long time. Now this is the last part of the chapter microwave spectroscopy, and this will be concluded in two parts, and after that I will switch to the next chapter, that is infrared spectroscopy. Now so far we have considered in the microwave spectroscopy, that is the rotational spectroscopy, is rigid rotor. We have dealt all the things with rigid rotor, that is the internuclear distance was considered constant, that is while rotating, while the molecule rotates in this manner, the internuclear distance will remain constant and it will not change during the rotation. Now for that rigid rotor, we have found, after solution of the Schrodinger equation, we have obtained the energy levels to look like h square upon 8 pi square I j into j plus 1, where j is the rotational quantum number and it can take the values 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. So this is for the rigid rotor. I am taking a short revision before entering into the today's topic. So this is the energy expression that was obtained upon solving the Schrodinger equation for this system. It is convenient in microwave spectroscopy to express in centimeter inverse. See, here the intensity is plotted against the wave number. This is the wave number of the radiation that has been irradiated into the sample and checked at which positions we get the response from the sample molecule. So this is the spectral data and it is plotted intensity versus the wave number. So we will convert this expression, which is in joule or arc, to centimeter inverse. So that will be related in this expression. See, it is very easy. We have E equals to h nu, Planck's law, and we can write here nu by C into C. Now this nu by C, that is waves per centimeter, number of waves per centimeter. So that will be nu bar into C, or nu bar equals to E upon hc. So wave number is related to the energy by this expression. So we can write this wave number equals to Ej upon hc. So when we put the formula, we will get h square upon 8 pi square I into hc j into j plus 1 equals to h upon 8 pi square IC. This h will cancel, so it will be h upon 8 pi square IC j into j plus 1, and this constant has been referred as the rotational constant that we have studied earlier. So this is the energy expression for the rigid rotor, which is B into j plus 1, and B is the rotational constant whose expression is h upon 8 pi square IC. Now the selection rule for the rotor was plus minus 1. Now first check the energy levels. Let us first put J equal to 0. So it will be the ground state B into 0. So it will be 0. Then J equal to 1. So it will be 1 into 1 plus 1, 2B. This is the first excited state. Next value 2. So it will be 2 into 2 plus 1. So it is 6B. Next value we put 3 here, 3 into 3 plus 1. So it is 12B. So next value is 6B. Next value is 12B. And the next one we put J equal to 4. So it will be 4 into 5, 20B. And this will go on. So these are the energy levels for the rigid rotor, and the selection rule is del J equals to plus minus 1. So the molecule can jump from 0 to 1, that is this transition will occur. From 1 to 2, this transition will occur. From 2 to 3, this will occur. From 3 to 4, and so on. Now when the first transition occurs, that is from ground state to the first excited state, the amount of energy that will be required is 2B in terms of wave number, in terms of centimeter inverse. So if we start scanning, we will get the first spectral line at 2B starting from 0. So this red line will be obtained. It will correspond to the transition 0 to 1, that is ground state to the first excited state, and the position will be at 2B. Now this difference is 2B, so we get the first line at 2B. Now for the transition 1 to 2, the energy gap is 4B. See, it is 6B minus 2B, so the energy gap is 4B. So we will get the second line, that is which will correspond the transition from first excited state to the second excited state at 4B. Now starting from 0, if we get the spectral line at 4B, it will be 2B distance away from the first line. Next, for the next transition, the energy gap is 6B. So you will get the third line at position 6B from the start. So again there will be separation of 2B. So the spectrum for the rigid rotor will be separated by equal amounts, that is there is a gap of 2B between each pair of lines. Now presently we are interested with the position of the spectrum and not with the intensity. I have already discussed how the intensity of a rotational spectra varies with J. To have those lectures, please go to the playlist of my channel, and there you will get that pattern and the reason for that. Presently we are interested in the position of the spectral lines. So you will get the first line at 2B, second line at 4B, third line at 6B, 8B, 10B, and so on. So between first line and second line there will be gap of 2B. Between second and third line there will be gap of 2B. Between this third and fourth line there will be gap of 2B. So they are equidistant from each other. Now for rigid rotor, follow the red lines, not the dotted green lines, that I will come later in this part. So this is the revision of rigid rotor what we have studied till now. Now do you think that a rotor will remain rigid while rotating? The distance between the two nuclei is considered to be constant in case of rigid rotor. That was an approximation. See, four forces are playing role in maintaining this internuclear distance. So, this atom is having a nucleus, this atom is having a nucleus, it has electron, it has electron. So, in nucleus we have protons that will attract electron of itself and of this atom. In this nucleus also there are protons, so that will attract electrons of itself and also of this one. So, we have nucleus 1 electron 2 attraction. Say this atom be 1 and this atom be 2. So, we have nucleus 1 to be attracting electron of atom 2, and there will be nucleus 2 attracting electron cloud of atom 1, and there will be electron electron repulsion, and there will be nucleus nucleus repulsion. So, why I am not considering the N1 U1 case, N1 U1, so that is not going to determine the internuclear distance, hence I have neglected it while explaining the internuclear distance. So, this nucleus will attract the electron cloud of this atom, this nucleus will attract the electron cloud of this atom, and there will be nucleus nucleus repulsion, and there will be electron electron repulsion. So, two attraction forces and two repulsion forces will determine the internuclear distance. Now, when a molecule is rotating, when this rigid rotor is rotating, what will happen? These atoms have masses, so it will develop a centrifugal force. While rotating, it will develop a centrifugal force that will act outward owing to the mass of this atom. So, these outward forces will tend to move the atoms apart from each other, so that there will be increase in the bond length from that value which is predicted by the valence bond theory. Now, with increase in the value of the rotational quantum number, that is J, the rotational energy increases. So, when we switch from ground state to the first excited state, from first to the second excited state, and so on, the rotational energy increases. That is, more quickly the molecule will rotate, and with increase in the velocity, more will be the centrifugal force, since centrifugal force carries the formula mv square by r. So, more the J value, more will be the rotational energy, more will be the speed of rotation. So, an increase in velocity will increase the centrifugal force. Now, that is going to distort the molecule, bond length will experience a increment. So, the truth is bonds are elastic and not that they are rigid in any way. The truth is we have the molecules to be non-rigid rotor and not rigid rotor that we have dealt earlier. Then why we have spent a lot of time with rigid rotor? So, that is a question, obviously a valid question, but see, you have experienced such approach earlier when you were young. You have first studied ideal gas, and that is going to follow the ideal gas equation of state, that is PV equal to nRT. But do you find any ideal gas in nature? at certain conditions real gas can approach to ideality, but ideal gas, ideal condition is a hypothetical state. So, first we have spent a lot of time with ideal gas, then we have corrected it from ideal gas equation of state to van der Waals equation of state, and then further modification came on virial equation, Camerling's equation, Deutsch-Rischy equation, Bartholomew equation. You can remember that. So, first, without making our life complex, we have to make an approximation and deal with the basic part. The basic part of a rotor is that it rotates. We may come to the non-rigid or the rigid part later on. The basic part of a gas is that the molecules move randomly and they collide with each other. They move in random directions with random velocities ranging from 0 to infinity. Now, that they interact with each other, that is going to affect a very little amount in their dynamics. So, first we have to consider the basic and the main part, and then we will shift to the real case after modification of this ideal case. So, that is the approach. So, we have considered that basic part earlier, that is a rotor rotates, and while calculating that part we have considered that bond length is not changing, and when we get all the details of that, all the spectrum, intensity, everything, then we are confessing that what we have done is not the exact science. There was a minor error, and at present we are in the state to correct it. So, this is that lecture where we will input that correction. So, with increase in the rotational quantum number, what is happening? Molecules are rotating more rapidly, that is creating a greater velocity, so greater centrifugal force. So, the atoms are creating a tendency to move apart. So, that is increasing the bond length. Now, what this bond length is going to have an effect? See, this rotational constant B is defined as h upon 8 pi square IC, and this I is the moment of inertia, it is mu r square. So, this is the internuclear distance. Now, if for the change in the bond length, if for the increase in the bond length from this position to say it comes to this position, this comes here, this comes here. So, we have an increased bond length. So, if this R increases, what will happen to this I? It will also increase, and B is inversely proportional to this I. So, B will fall. So, as J increases, B will fall. So, we can say that for J equal to 0, if it is B 0, then for the first excited state, that is J equal to 1, we will not have B 0, we will have B 1, and it will be B 1 less than B 0. And for the next state J equal to 2, it will have B 2. So, it will be B 2 less than B 1 less than B 0. So, as it is increasing, the molecule is moving more rapidly, centrifugal force is getting more and more. So, the atoms are moving more apart from each other, internuclear distance is increasing accordingly, moment of inertia is increasing accordingly, and since B is inversely proportional to this moment of inertia, as we go up we will get a fall in the rotational constant value. So, that is the case when we take the truth, that is molecules are actually non-rigid and not rigid. So, for non-rigid rotor B will experience a change, and as we go up means up in energy, not in height. So, as the rotational quantum number increases, B will gradually fall. Now, that message have to be incorporated in the Schrodinger equation. So, when we input this message of the non-rigid rotor to the Schrodinger equation and we came up with the solution, that is very tough, and when we impart such situations that the internuclear distance changes with increase in the J value, so it is a function of J, then what happens? It will become more complicated, but not that it is unsolvable. We have to set the Schrodinger equation for non-rigid rotor and then we have to solve it, and after solving that we get this expression. We get this expression. So, we have the energy expression for the non-rigid rotor. We have the energy expression for the non-rigid rotor to be Ej equals to h square upon 8 pi square I j into j plus 1, and see, I have told you just now that rotational constant is decreasing, and so the energy will fall, and that is being taken into consideration by the Schrodinger equation in this format. This is the solution that came from this Schrodinger equation, and the expression is modified from this one only to this expression. So, it is Ej equals to h square upon 8 pi square I j into j plus 1, that was already present for the rigid rotor, and this part has been added, minus h to the power 4 upon 32 pi to the power 4 I square r square k j square into j plus 1 whole square. So, it is Ej equals to h square upon 8 pi square I j into j plus 1 minus h to the power 4 32 pi to the power 4 I square r square k into j square into j plus 1 whole square. So, the signature of the non-rigidity has been introduced, not that I have introduced it forcefully. I have introduced the message in this equation, in the Schrodinger equation, and after solving it we are getting this equation. Now, the solution is not presently in our scope, we may deal it later on. So, the next step is to convert this from arg or joule mode to centimeter inverse mode, that is in terms of wave number. So, we will divide this Ej by Hc. So, this is the first part, this one, and for the second part it will be h to the power 4 32 pi to the power 4 I square r square k Hc, and it is j square into j plus 1 whole square. So, this will be h cube upon 32 pi to the power 4 I square r square k, h will cancel out, it will be c, it is j square into j plus 1 whole square. Now, this we will define as the centrifugal distortion coefficient. So, it will be minus d j square into j plus 1 whole square, and this was predefined. It is the rotational constant, this is the rotational constant B, and this is defined as the centrifugal distortion coefficient. So, our energy expression gets modified to this form, that is epsilon j equals to b into j plus 1 minus d into j square into j plus 1 whole square. So, we take a fresh note of this energy expression here, we will need it. So, we have epsilon j equals to b into j plus 1 minus d into j square into j plus 1 whole square, where b is the rotational constant and its value is h upon 8 pi square IC, and d is the centrifugal distortion coefficient and its value is h cube upon 32 pi to the power 4 I square r square k c. So, this is the value of the centrifugal distortion coefficient. Now, one thing, when you consider the molecule as non-rigid, that is the bond is elastic, then it will vibrate. So, there will be vibrational energy, and 4 forces that are playing within this molecule, that are maintaining the elasticity that I have mentioned earlier, that is nucleus electron attraction, nucleus electron attraction, nucleus nucleus repulsion and electron electron repulsion. So, that will interplay to create the vibration in the molecule. So, this elastic bond, that is the non-rigid rotor, will also exhibit vibration in addition to rotation with a vibrational frequency, a fundamental vibrational frequency, which is nu equals to 1 by 2 pi root over k by mu, where mu is the reduced mass of the molecule, it is the reduced mass of the molecule, and k is the force constant. K is the force constant of the bond that is connecting the two atoms. So, this is the fundamental vibrational frequency with which the bond will vibrate alongside rotation. Now, if we change it in the wave number mode, so it will be nu by c, number of waves per centimeter, and that will give you 1 by 2 pi c root over k by mu. Now, as I have said a few minutes ago that the bond is elastic, and as the molecule rotates quickly, more will be the distortion, and the distortion will obviously be guided by the force constant of that bond. So, more the value of the force constant, less will be the distortion, and less the value of the force constant, more will be the distortion. So, k, if k is of small value, then it represents a weak bond. Force constant is of less value, small value, so that will represent a weak bond, and if the bond is weak, more will be the distortion. This must be for a strong bond, you can distort it to little extent. For a weak bond, you can distort it to large extent for the same extent of rotation. So, there must be K within the centrifugal distortion coefficient. That is our theoretical prediction, and you see we have K here within this distortion coefficient. So, everything is in accord. Now, one thing, since we are getting K here, we will try to have a relation between the rotational constant B and the centrifugal distortion coefficient D in terms of this nu bar. So, let us, I have practiced it. So, we will start with 4b cube upon nu bar square. If you ask that where from you are getting it, actually through trial and error method I have obtained it, and actually I have studied it from Banwell. I am not deriving anything new. Please follow the textbook Banwell and McCash regarding spectroscopy. That is an elegant book before going to the further and the higher versions. So, this 4b cube by nu bar square I am getting through trial and error method, and let us see what this happens. We put here the value of b. So, it is 4 into b means h upon 8 pi square I c, and it is cube here, and this nu bar it is 1 by 2 pi c root over k by mu, it is whole square. Let us simplify it carefully. So, it will be h cube, and it will be here 8 into 8 into 8, and it is pi to the power 6 into I cube into c cube. Now, it is squared. So, it will be k, it will be mu here, this mu will come to the numerator, and this 1 by 2 pi c, this 2 pi c square will come to the numerator. So, it will be 4 pi square into c square. Now, see this 4 and 4. So, you cancel this 4 by 2, this 4 by 2. So, you will have 4 here, 2 into 2, 4 into 8, that will be 32. So, it is 32. Now, pi square by pi to the power 6. So, it will be pi to the power 4 here. See, here it is I cube, we are splitting it in the form of I square into I cube equals to I square into I, and I is mu r square that I have expressed earlier, and this c square and c cube will cancel, and we will have a c here and a k here, and in the numerator we will have h cube mu, and pi square and pi to the power 6 I have cancelled earlier, c square c cube I have cancelled earlier. So, this mu and mu will cancel now. So, it will be h cube upon 32 pi to the power 4 I square r square k into c. Check this. What is the expression of d? It is h cube upon 32 pi to the power 4 I square r square k c. So, this is d. So, you can write 4b cube upon nu bar square equals to d. So, this is one important relation where the rotational constant and the centrifugal distortion coefficient is connected with the fundamental vibrational frequency of the non-rigid rotor through this expression. They are connected, and that must be, we must have a connection. So, this is an important relation, and using this we can have important information about the system that I will exhibit to you in the next part. Now, another complicated part that I will introduce here is that I have told you just now that this molecule is rotating, and also it is vibrating at the same time. The rotor is rotating and also vibrating simultaneously. Now, what is the mode of this vibration? If this vibration occurs in this way, so this is the equilibrium bond length, the bond length that is depicted by the valence bond theory, and this is the excited state. This is the equilibrium position, and the molecule is getting compressed from this equilibrium position to this one, and it is getting stretched from the equilibrium position to this one. So, you can write here, this is the state of stretching this position, and this is the state of compression, which is this position. Now, as the energy increases, the extent will increase. The extent of stretching and compression increases as we go up in energy. Now, this is the simple harmonic motion, simple harmonic oscillator. Now, in this simple harmonic motion, you will find that for the same energy, the amount of expansion is exactly identical to the amount of compression. The molecule will be able to compress as much as it will stretch with the same amount of energy. So, this is the simple harmonic motion, and for that motion we will get the average value, which will be equal to the bond length at equilibrium, at the equilibrium position as predicted by VBT. Now, see one thing, this B has a value of 10 centimeter inverse of the order of. So, it may be 2 centimeter inverse, it may be 5 centimeter inverse, it may be 15 centimeter inverse. So, B is characterized by the value of, it is of the order of 10 centimeter inverse, and the frequency, it is of the order of 10 to the power 3 centimeter inverse. These are the values that are experimentally obtained. Now, what does it indicating? The extent of vibration is much greater than the extent of rotation. So, while executing a single rotation, these values are indicating that while executing a single rotation, it will vibrate of the order of 1000 times greater. So, this rotation will experience the average value of the internuclear distances that will modulate during vibration. So, you see, if for a single rotation, if this starts from here and after completing one rotation it comes again here, if it vibrates for 1000 times, so it is one complete vibration, stretching, compress and then coming back, one vibration, then next it is another vibration, then it is another vibration, another vibration. So, it is occurring 1000 times for a single rotation. So, at each position we will get a number of vibrations during this rotation. This rotational constant will take up value of the order of 10 centimeter inverse. So, that will indicate the extent of rotation, and while rotating, this rotor will execute vibration, and it will be characterized by the frequency in terms of wave number. It is of the order of 10 to the power 3. So, for 10 it is 10 to the power 3. So, it is indicating that for a single rotation there will be multiple number of vibrations. So, this will move like, say, this molecule, this will move apart, that is expansion, then it will come back to the equilibrium position, then it will compress, then again it will come back to the equilibrium position. This is one complete vibration. So, see, starting from this position, starting from the internuclear distance that is predicted by the valence bond theory, it is expanding, it is coming back, it is compressing, again getting back to the equilibrium position, then it will be said that the molecule has executed one complete vibration. So, from this position it will stretch, it will come back, it will compress, and then again get back to that position, it will be one single vibration. Now, while conducting a single rotation, so that this atom starts here and it, after this rotation, it comes back here. If I show this with my pen, it will be like this. This is a complete rotation. So, while this rotation, the molecule is vibrating multiple times. In this way, the rotation is getting executed. So, at this point, if someone asks that, say, at this position, this atom is heavier, so the center of mass will be here. So, at this position, say the molecule is vibrating while rotating, and it is in the stretched position now. It is in the stretched position now. Then what will be the bond length here? What will be the distance? The R has increased from the equilibrium value to this value. So, what value we will put in this I, since I is mu R square? This one may ask that while rotating, if the molecule vibrates, then the distance between the two nuclei will change. It will increase, it will decrease, it will increase while stretching, it will decrease while compressing, and if it compress, then this distance will be lesser than this value R. So, this is the equilibrium bond length, and while compressing this will decrease, and while being stretched it will increase. So, what value we will take and put in this equation? That is a $1 million question. Now, see, since the energy difference is huge, while executing a single rotation, it will vibrate multiple times. So, at this position, say the molecule has vibrated 10 times, and in the next position it has vibrated again 10 times. So, what this rotation will experience? If at this position it experiences 10 vibrations, at this position 10 vibrations occur, at this position 10 vibrations occur. So, what radius must we consider? We must consider the average of it. So, this is the equilibrium distance between the two nucleus and it is getting away here. So, R is increasing, it is coming closer, so R is decreasing, and if it occurs in a frequency that is much greater than the frequency of rotation, then the rotation will experience the average of these two extreme positions, which is the equilibrium position. So, if we consider simple harmonic, then the extent of stretching is equal to the extent of compression. So, the average will exactly give this value, but in reality molecules are not simple harmonic, they are anharmonic. Now, how this anharmonic motion look like? These dotted lines I am taking for anharmonic motion. So, this is the anharmonic mode. If I connect it through small dots, it will show you the potential clearly. So, this is the hypothetical bond. And this is the real bond. So, here you see the extent of compression is less than the extent of stretching. Now, while rotating, if the molecule executes a large number of vibrations, then the rotor will experience the average of all the internuclear distance that is appearing while stretching and compressions. Now, in case of real bonds, in case of anharmonic potentials, in case of anharmonic molecules, the extent of stretching, see from here to here, this is the extent of stretching and this is the extent of compression. So, what will be the average? The average will shift from this value to this value. So, the radius, that is R, which is the equilibrium distance. So, the equilibrium distance, the internuclear distance will increase, will experience a increment when the average is considered by this rotor. So, in case of anharmonic oscillator, which is the real case, the bond length is going to increase. So, the bond length is increasing owing to the centrifugal distortion, and the bond length is increasing owing to this anharmonic oscillation. So, that we must also incorporate within the Schrodinger equation, and when we put that, it will look like the expression of energy will look like epsilon j equals to b into j plus 1 minus d into j square into j plus 1 whole square plus h into j cube into j plus 1 whole cube, and so on. So, only this expression, when you take this expression epsilon j equal to b into j plus 1, it is for the rigid rotor. When you take this expression, it will give you the non-rigid rotor with the centrifugal distortion coefficient, but this is due to the simple harmonic vibration. So, we have considered non-rigid rotor here, but the vibration is in simple harmonic mode. So, the potential is simple harmonic, but when the field is not simple harmonic, it is anharmonic, which is the exact reality. That is, the rotor is non-rigid, at the same time it is vibrating in a anharmonic force field, then the energy expression will look like this. But see, D is much less than B and H is much less than D, and even today the modern spectroscopic machines are not being able to show you the change in the spectral positions, the modification of the position of the spectral lines that appear due to this H. So, to a good approximation, we can consider that the non-rigid rotor is experiencing the simple harmonic force field rather than the anharmonic one. And one thing more that will give our consideration a good support, that while performing the microwave spectroscopy, we are actually passing energy which is less than that required in the vibrational spectroscopy. That is, we are sending electromagnetic radiations that have lower energy than the infrared radiation that are responsible for vibrational transition. So, the molecules will gather at the ground state. This is V equal to 0, that is the ground vibrational energy state. So, I will come to these in details in the next chapter, which I will start shortly, very shortly. So, all the molecules will be in the ground state. Now, in the ground state, you see the stretching and the compression is almost equal, and the difference in the stretching and the compression enhances, amplifies as we go up. So, in the ground state, to a good approximation, we can consider that the molecule behaves like a simple harmonic oscillator. So, we will continue with this expression, and I have told you just now that even modern spectroscopic machines give data which are satisfied to a good agreement by this equation. The third term you need not have to consider. Now, what effect this non-rigid rotor will exhibit on the spectral lines, that I have to determine it now. See, these red lines are that due to the rigid rotor. Now, we have obtained the expression, the energy expression for the non-rigid rotor, and now it is our duty to find out the effect of this centrifugal distortion in the spectral lines. So, what effect this centrifugal distortion is going to impact upon the spectral lines? So, let us consider the transition from J state to J plus 1 state, so that the nu bar spectrum, that is the radiation that will be required to carry out the transition, say this is nu bar spectroscopy, nu bar spectrum. So, this photon is taking this non-rigid rotor from jth state to j plus 1 state. Now, why j plus 1? Since calculation shows that here also in case of non-rigid rotor we have the same selection rule, that is del j equal to plus minus 1 as it was in case of the rigid rotor. So, this nu bar will be difference in the successive energy levels. So, it is epsilon j plus 1 minus epsilon j. Now, it will be, we have to put j plus 1 in this entire equation. So, it will be b into, we have to put j plus 1 in place of j. So, it will be j plus 1, it will be j plus 2. See, here it is j plus 1 and we have to put j plus 1 instead of j. So, it will be j plus 1 plus 1, so it is j plus 2 minus d into j plus 1 whole square into j plus 2 whole square. This is the first part. It is minus here, here it is minus. So, again the next part, that is exactly this expression. Now, we take these two. So, we take b into j plus 1 in common. So, in the parenthesis we will have, we are taking b into j plus 1 common. So, in the parenthesis here it will be j plus 2 left and here it will be minus j. See, b and j plus 1 we are taking it as common. So, j plus 2 minus j will be in the parenthesis. Now, here it is minus. So, we can take d into j plus 1 whole square in common. So, we are taking minus d into j plus 1 whole square in common. So, if we, since we are taking minus as common, this minus will put a negative here. So, here it is j plus 2 whole square left and here it is j square left. So, it is j plus 2 whole square, one negative is taken as common. So, another negative will be there. So, it will be j square. Now, this will be 2b into j plus 1, this j will cancel out. So, it will be 2b into j plus 1 and here it will be d into j plus 1 whole square into j square plus 4j plus 4 minus j square. J square will cancel out. So, it will be 4j plus 4, we will take 4 common and in the parenthesis it will be j plus 1. So, this j plus 1 and j plus 1 whole square will be j plus 1 whole cube. So, the final expression, that is nu bar, that is the frequency wave number of the photon that will be required for the said transition to occur. Nu bar is given by 2b into j plus 1 minus 4d into j plus 1 whole cube. So, this is the expression for the transition. For the transition in case of non-rigid rotor, this is the expression that will deal. Now, see, if it is rigid rotor, then there will be no distortion coefficient. So, d will be 0, then we will have the expression 2b into j plus 1. So, for j equal to 0, for j equal to 0 to 1, we will have 2b here, say 2b into 0 plus 1. So, 2b. For the next transition from 1 to 2, from 1 to 2, we will get 2b into 1 plus 1. So, 4b. So, the next line will be at 4b. Now, what is the value of d? This we have to know. To have the position of the spectral lines in case of non-rigid rotor, we have to know the value of d. So, we have already obtained the expression of d, which is 4b cube upon nu bar square. Now, if we put here d equals to 4b cube upon nu bar square, you can recall that a few minutes ago I have told you that the value of b is of the order of 10 centimeter inverse. So, it will be cube, and the value of nu bar, it is of the order of 10 to the power 3 centimeter inverse. So, it will be square here. Since it is of the order of, it will be almost equal to here. Now, if we operate this, it will be 10 to the power 3 and it will be 10 to the power 6. So, after cancellation, we will get almost equal to 4 into 10 to the power minus 3 centimeter inverse. So, it is centimeter inverse cube and it is centimeter inverse square. So, after cancellation, we will get centimeter inverse. So, this is the value of d. So, d has the value of the order of 10 to the power minus 3 centimeter inverse and b has the value of the order of 10 centimeter inverse. Now, see which one is greater. D has a much lower value compared to b. Now, see the expression, it is 2b into j plus 1 minus 4d into j plus 1 whole cube. For the transitions at the lower level from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, to a good approximation we can neglect d, that is the centrifugal distortion coefficient can be neglected to a good approximation. Now, you can recall that at the start of the chapter spectroscopy, I have shown you how to find the bond length of carbon monoxide. You can go to the playlist spectroscopy in my channel and see there that there is a video under the title bond length of carbon monoxide, and there I have started with the data that was taken up by Gilliam et al. And they observed the first line in the rotational spectrum of carbon monoxide. Now, you can point that why they choose the first line, not the second, third, fourth lines. They have chosen the first line because in the first line we will have this 2b into, say for the first line the transition is 0 to 1. So, it is 2b into 0 plus 1 minus 4d into 0 plus 1. So, it will look like nu bar 0 to 1, it will be 2b minus 4d. Now, if we put these values, so it will be almost equal to 2 into 10 minus 4 into 4d 10 to the power minus 3. So, it will be 20 minus 4 into 20 minus, say it will be 0.004. So, it is almost equal to 20. So, for the lower level, when the transition occurs from the ground state to the first excited state, that is transition at the lower level, the impact of d is negligible, since the value of d is less. Hence, they have chosen the first line, since in reality carbon monoxide is not a rigid rotor, it is actually a non-rigid rotor, but they are calculating with the expression of rigid rotor. So, the molecule is actually a non-rigid rotor, but they are calculating the bond length using the expression of rigid rotor. Now, for this they have chosen the first line in the rotational spectrum, since when we consider the first line, the contribution of D is negligible. The centrifugal distortion coefficient has negligible impact, and see the value of this transition is actually guided by the rotational constant. So, 20 minus 0.004 will be almost equal to 20. Hence, they have chosen the first line. That was by no means arbitrary that choose the first line, not that. You must choose the first line of the rotational spectrum while calculating the bond length, since you are using the expression of rigid rotor. Now, as we go to the right, that is J is increasing, then you see this will be multiplied by this J plus 1 whole cube. So, if we take the transition, say J equal to 10, not from 0 to 1, see what happens. Nu bar 10 to 11, see what happens. So, it will be 2b, so 2 into 10 into J plus 1, so it will be 11. 2 into 10 into 10 plus 1, so it will be 11. In the previous case, it was 1, 0 plus 1, and it is 0 plus 1 whole cube. So, it was 1. Now, here it will be 4 into D. We put the value of D, it is 10 to the power minus 3. We are putting the value of D here, 10 to the power minus 3, and then it is J plus 1 whole cube. So, it is 11 cube. So, it is 11 cube, 10 plus 1, 11 cube. Now, what is the value? It is 20 into, so it is 11 into 10, 110 into 2. So, it is 220 minus 11 into 11, it is 121, and again 11. So, it will be 121, 121. So, it is 1331. So, it is 4 into 10 to the power minus 3 into 1.33 into 10 to the power 3. This 1331 is 1.33 into 10 to the power 3. So, this will cancel. 4 into 1.33, it is 220 minus 4 into 1.33, 5, almost equal to 5. So, then you can not neglect, it will be giving you 215 here. So, you see, with increase in the J value, the lines due to the non-rigid rotor is actually displaced to the left, and that has been shown in the diagram with green dotted lines. You can see here, but here it is much exaggerated, not that amount of shifting takes place. If I show you this small displaced value, you cannot see it in camera. So, I have shown it to a much exaggerated condition. This amount of shifting does not take place. Shifting occurs, but to a very small extent, and this shifting becomes important as J value increases. See, when in the ground state transition, at the low values of transition, it is almost negligible. 20 minus 0.004 is giving you 20. But as the J values are increasing, this J plus 1 whole cube is contributing more, and then the second term, that is the centrifugal distortion coefficient, is coming into the picture. So, with increase in the J value, we cannot neglect the centrifugal distortion coefficient, and Gilliam et al. Observed the first line with the intention to get the correct result. If you start with the calculation of bond length of any molecule having a higher J value, then you have to use the expression this one, so that the shifting is taken into consideration by this expression. But to make our life simple, if we consider this expression only, that is for the expression of rigid rotor, then you must choose the first line, since in that case the amount that is getting subtracted from the to be value is negligible, and when the j value is very small, then centrifugal distortion coefficient can be neglected to a good approximation. So, with higher values of j, you must deal with this expression. So, in the next part, I will show you how to get the necessary information about a bond for higher values of j or any values of j. That will be our discussion in the next part. So, if you have any query, feel free to contact me, and in the comment section you may comment or put any query regarding this issue. So, study it, watch it, then read the textbooks, and if any problem arises, get back to me. So, this is about the rotational spectrum of non-rigid rotor. What we have actually experienced is that the rigid rotor will give spectrum as at these positions, that is the red lines, and for the non-rigid rotor there will be slight displacement towards the left of the spectrum with respect to this rigid rotor. See these green dotted lines that represent the non-rigid rotor, and the displacement becomes important as the j value increases, since here it is j plus 1 and it is j plus 1 whole cube, and d is much smaller than b. So, when the j value is small, this effect will be negligible, and this will be important only when j will have a higher value. So, if you put here j equal to 20, then you will see that a significant amount is getting subtracted from this value. So, the displacement will become prominent at the higher values of j, and if you try to have the information regarding the molecule at such higher values, then you will have to deal with this expression, the expression for the non-rigid rotor, and not with simply the rigid rotor. So, that is all. Feel free to contact me.